So in this video, I'm going to solve a series of questions under algebra. So help us do a quick revision. So I have the first question on the screen here, which says that we should sum the complex numbers 1 plus 2i, 3 minus 4i, and then minus 2 plus I. So we are going to sum these three complex numbers here. So for this to be easy for us, we're going to group these complex numbers into two forms, which is the real part and then the imaginary part. So the real parts are the parts which has just whole numbers, and then the imaginary parts are the part that has the I attached to it. In some cases, you will see J and not I, but in this question, you are using I here. So the numbers that has I attached to them are the imaginary part, and then the numbers that don't have I attached to them are the real part. So for the addition to be easy for us, we are going to add the real parts separately, then we add the imaginary parts separately. Then after that, we write them in a complex number form. So let's look at how we are going to do that. So I'm going to add all the real parts. So for the real part, I have for the first complex number, I have 1 here. That will be 1. And then for the second complex number, I have 3. That will be plus 3. And then for the third complex number, I have what? Minus 2. So that what? Plus minus 2. So let's sum all this up. 1 plus 3, that would be 4. Minus 2, that would be what? 2. So we have the real part to be 2. Let's do the same for the imaginary part also. So for the imaginary part, for the first complex number, I have what? 2i. Okay, so that will be 2i here. And then for the second one, I have what? Minus 4. So that what? Plus minus 4i. Okay, and then for the third one, I have what? Just I. So that what? Plus I. So summing all this up, this will be, let's factor out the I. Okay, so I'll bring the I out here. So we have what? 2 minus 4 plus 1. Okay, so let's simplify this here. So this will give me minus 1. So that what? I multiplying what? Minus 1. So this will be equal to what? Minus I. So we have what? You have the real part to be 2, and then you have what? The imaginary part to be negative I. So therefore, the sum of all these complex numbers here, the sum will be equal to 2 minus I. Okay, so that will be the sum of what these complex numbers. So you just have to group the real part and then the imaginary part, then add them separately. Then after that, you write down your answer. So that's how to sum up complex numbers. Let's take the next example. So with these two examples, we have to first sum up the complex numbers I have on the top. That's for the second question, and the third question we have to subtract these two complex numbers. So let's look at how we are going to do it. So first of all, we are going to take the question 2. So with the question 2, we have to sum up the complex numbers 2 plus 3i and then 3 minus 4i. Okay, so I'm going to add the real part separately and then the imaginary part separately. Okay, so for the real part, we have for the first complex number, we have what? 2. And then the second complex number, we have what? 3. So that was 2 plus 3. And that will be equal to the value of what? 5. And then for the imaginary part, for the first complex number, we have what? 3. Okay, that's 3i. And then for the second, we have what? Minus 4. So that was plus minus 4i. Okay, so since I is common to both sides, you can bring I out. Okay, then we do with the 3 minus 4. So this will give us a value of what? I multiplying what? Minus 1, which will be equal to what? Minus I. Okay, so then you have what? The sum to be equal to 5 minus I. So this will be the sum for the first question. Okay, so for the third question also, you have to subtract these two complex numbers here. So the first complex number I have is 2 plus 3i. Then the second one is 3 minus 4i. So I have to subtract these two complex numbers here. So I'm going to deal with the real part separately and then the imaginary part separately. So I have the real part here, that will be equal to the first complex number has a real number of what? 2. Okay, minus the second one, which is 3, so that what? Minus 3. So this will give me a value of what? Minus 1. And then for the imaginary part, for the first complex number I have what? 3i, and then the second one I have what? Minus 4. So that was minus 4i. Okay, so this will give us 3i plus 4i. So this will be equal to 7i. Okay, so subtracting these two complex numbers, we have the answer to be equal to what? Minus 1 plus 7i. Okay, plus 7i. So this will be the answer for this subtraction that we performed. So let's move on to the next question. So with this question, you have to multiply the complex numbers z1 and then z2. So we know that z1 equals 3 plus 2i, and then z2 equals minus 1 minus 4i. Okay, so that's z1 and then z2. So you have to multiply these two. Okay, so let's look at how that's going to be. So z1 and then z2, that's the product of z1 and z2 will be equal to 3 plus 2i. Okay, multiplying minus 1 minus 4i minus 4i. Okay, this is what I have now. So I'm going to expand these two brackets here. So I'll first take this 3 here and then use it to multiply the second bracket. So that'll be 3 multiplying minus 1 minus 4i. Okay, then I'll come and take the 2i also. So that will be plus 2i. Okay, I'll multiply that also with the same second bracket. So that'll be multiplying minus 1 minus 4i. So now let's simplify this. This will give me 3 times negative 1, that will be minus 3. 3 times minus 4i, that will be minus 12i. And then 2i times negative 1, that will be minus 2i. And then 2i times minus 4i, that will be minus 8i squared. Okay, so this is what you have now. Okay, so from here, what we have to do is that let's focus on this 8i squared here. Okay, so we know that what I equals what? The square root of what? Negative 1. Okay, so I squared will be equal to what? Square root of what? Negative 1 all squared. Okay, so when this happens, this squared is going to cancel out the square root. So then you have what? I squared should be equal to what? Negative 1. Okay, so let's look at that. That will be equal to minus 3 minus 12i. Okay, minus 2i minus 8 times what? I squared, which is equal to what? Negative 1. So that what? Times what? Minus 1. Okay, so simplifying this, we have what? Minus 3 minus 12i minus 2i minus 8 times minus 1, that what? Plus 8. Okay, so now let's simplify our side now. So that will be minus 3 plus 8. Okay, we are grouping the real terms and then the imaginary terms. So for the real terms, you have what? Minus 3 plus 8, so that will what? 5. And then for the imaginary part, we have what? Minus 12 and then minus 2, that what? Minus 14. So that's minus 14 I. Okay, so that will be the product of what? Z1 and then Z2. So let's move on to the next example. Okay, so with this example, we have to express Z in the form x plus what? I1, okay, which is the standard form. So you have Z to be equal to what? 3 minus 2I over minus 1 plus what? 4I. So how are you going to do this? Okay, so for us to be able to do this, we have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the complex conjugate of what? This denominator that I have here. So before then, let's look at what complex conjugate is. So when I say complex conjugate, let's say I have a complex number z which is equal to x plus iy. Okay, if I want to find the conjugate of this, then I have to change the sign of what? The imaginary part. So that what? X minus what? Iy. So you just see that I just changed the sign of what? The imaginary part. Same way, if I have z to be equal to x minus iy, okay, then that will be z will be equal to x plus z, that's the conjugate, that will be equal to what? X plus what? I y. You just have to change this sign here. So you see, as at this place, it is already negative. Okay, so we are going to make it what? Positive. That's for the conjugate. So you see that we just changed the sign. So that's what the complex conjugate means. So the complex conjugate of the denominator here, which is what? Let's make it x. Okay, x equals what? Negative 1 plus 4i here. So in this case, the conjugate will be equal to what? Minus 1 minus what? 4i. So you just change the sign of what? The one that has the I attached to it, or the sign of what? The imaginary part. So going back to the question, we have what? 3 minus 2i, okay, dividing minus 1 plus 4i. So we are going to multiply both sides by the complex conjugate of the denominator, okay, which is what? Minus 1 minus 4i divided by minus 1 minus what? 4i. Okay, so we have something like this: 3 minus 2i multiplying minus 1 minus 4i, okay, divided by minus 1 plus 4i multiplying minus 1 minus what? 4i. Okay, this is what you have now. Okay, so for us to get our answer, we just have to multiply, do this multiplication. Okay, so when you do the multiplication, then you'll be able to get our answer. Now let's look at that. So I'm taking the numerator. Okay, so for the numerator, I'm going to expand this bracket. So the 3 will multiply negative 1 minus 4i. Okay, and then minus 2i. This is 2i. Minus the 2i will also multiply the minus 1 minus what? 4i. Okay, so now let's expand this and then see what we get. So this will be minus 3 minus 12i. Okay, and then minus 2i times minus 1, that will be plus 2i. Okay, and then minus 2i times what? Minus 4i. So that will be plus 8i squared. Okay, so let's simplify this. So this will be equal to what? Minus 3 minus 12i plus 2i. Okay, but you know that what? I squared is what? Equal to what? Negative 1. So that was negative 1 times what? 8. So that's what? Negative 8. So this will give me minus 3 minus 8 minus 12i plus 2i. Okay, so you are adding the real part and then the imaginary part. So this will give me minus 11 minus 10i. So this is for the numerator. Okay, so let's go and write this down here. That will equal to what? Minus 11 minus 10i. Okay, so now let's do same for the denominator also. We're going to do same for the denominator also. So for the denominator, I'm going to multiply the first bracket with the second bracket. So that was minus 1 multiplying minus 1 minus 4i. Okay, and then plus 4i. Okay, plus 4i multiplying minus 1 minus what? 4i. Anytime you multiply a complex number by its complex conjugate, you get a real number. So let's look at what that means. So negative 1 times negative 1, that gives us 1. And then minus 1 times minus 4i, that gives us plus 4i. And then 4i times minus 1, that gives us minus 4i here. And then 4i times minus 4i, that gives us what? Minus 16i squared. Okay, so at the end, see that what? We have what? 4i minus 4i here. So this will subtract each other. So that what? That means they've cancelled out each other. So we have what? 0 here. So at the end, you have what? 1 minus what? 16i squared. But we know that what? I squared equals what? Negative 1. So that was 1 minus what? 16 multiplying what? Negative 1. So at the end, we have what? 1 plus 16, which will be equal to what? 17. So that will be all this divided by 17. But then you have what? Negative 11 divided by 17 minus 10 divided by what? 17i. So this will be the standard form for this complex number z here.